Hello, hello, my loves, and welcome to Decades Challenge Through the Years. We are going to be going through all of the pictures that I have taken, or at least most of them, through our Decades Challenge. We're starting here with our very first heir, Mr. Charles Danforth. So I do need to preface this by saying some things may be a little out of order. Trying to keep track of everything is crazy, but so we're starting with Charles. Charles was married to this beautiful lady, Miss Rose Danforth. I loved Rose. I always thought she was so beautiful. She was such a good mama, and she was super, super helpful when taking care of the farm. So our Decades family basically started with almost nothing. They had a little farm and so this is William, and William is Charles's younger brother. He is the middle child, and William had a wife as well. He was married to Florence. Florence is actually Rose's sister, so all of the Danforth brothers married sisters. So this is William. He is the youngest Danforth brother, and he married Florence and Rose's youngest sister, and her name was Elizabeth. Florence and Elizabeth were two of my favorites. I thought they were so beautiful, and we started having babies almost immediately. In 1891, Charles and Rose gave birth to their very first daughter, the beautiful Miss Annabelle Danforth. And in the same year, William and Elizabeth welcomed their son, David. Oh, you guys, the beginning of this legacy, here's Annabelle when she aged up into an infant, but the beginning of this legacy was so hard because we lost so many babies to sickness and stuff like that. And David was the first one to go. Unfortunately, David aged up into an infant, and the death roll did not go his way. He died in 1891, but in 1892, Elizabeth and William gave birth to their oldest child, a daughter they named Jacqueline, and she was beautiful. This is Miss Annabelle when she aged up into a toddler. She was the cutest thing, you guys. Oh, she had the most beautiful blue eyes. This is Maxwell. I didn't have a picture of him as a newborn, but this is Florence and Edward's son. He was born in 1892 and also died in 1892. In 1892, Charles and Rose had their second child, a son they named Adriel, and he actually became the heir to our legacy. Jacqueline aged up in 1892. This is Elizabeth's daughter. She aged up in 1892 and unfortunately did pass away that same year. Florence and Edward in 1893 had a son they named Elias, and he unfortunately did pass away in 1895. This is Elias as well. Isn't he cute? Oh, I really wish we would have gotten to see some of these babies aged up and to see what they would have looked like as they gotten older. This is Miss Annabelle when she aged up into a toddler. She was one of the very few that made it from the first generation. This is Castiel Danforth. He is the son of Florence and Edward Danforth. He was born in 1895. And then Edward and Florence had another daughter, Vera, in 1895. And let me tell you, Vera grew up to be so beautiful. Now, Rose died in 1892 when she gave birth to Adriel. And I'm not sure why. Like I said, some things are kind of out of order, so just kind of bear with me. But Castiel was born in 1895, also died in 1895. This is the son of Florence and William Danforth. This is Adriel when he aged up into a toddler. I don't think I have pictures of him as an infant. I had a newborn picture, but I couldn't find an infant picture of Adriel. This is Annabelle when she aged up into a child. She was so cute. Just from the moment she was born, she was adorable. This is Vera when she aged up into an infant. Isn't she cute? Oh my gosh, I just loved Vera. I thought she was so beautiful. This is Adriel when he aged up into a child. He loved the llamas and he would love to go play with the llamas and the cows outside on the farm. What a little cutie head. Eleanora Danforth was born to Charles and Florence Danforth in 1897. So Florence's husband, Charles' brother, died, and of course Rose died. And so they got together and ended up getting married, and then they had Nicolette in 1897. Charles, yes, married his brother's widow. This is Eleanora again. Isn't she adorable? Oh, I just love her. She's so pretty, you guys. And this is Miss Annabelle, all aged up into a teen. That was Annabelle actually holding Eleanora, but Annabelle aged up into a teenager. And then Vera aged up into a child, and she looked so much like Florence. It's crazy. Like, her mom literally said copy paste, but like with brown hair though. And then Adriel aged up into a teen, and we all sort of fell in love with Adriel when he became a teenager. I have always loved Adriel, but, you know, when he became a teen, he got super cute. But these are the graves of Rose and William Danforth. So this is Florence's husband and Charles's wife. So, like I said, Charles and Florence did end up getting married. Florence and Edward moved in with Charles after Rose died to help him take care of his kids. And so then when William got sick and passed away, Florence was around, obviously, helping William raise his children. And they ended up falling in love and getting married and having children of their own. And they had a lot of really, really beautiful, beautiful children. I'm telling you guys, the Sims in this challenge were all beautiful. But Miss Annabelle actually ended up getting married to Hugo Villarreal. And their courtship was very, very quick. They got married very, very fast. But they loved each other. They loved each other very much. And them getting married was literally the cutest thing ever. Annabelle was so happy. They moved into, I believe, Edward and Florence's old house. Something like that. It was either a house that was owned by Edward and Florence before they moved in with Charles, or they moved into the house that Elizabeth and William used to live in. But I don't remember, if I'm being completely honest. But these are more pictures of Annabelle and Hugo. As you guys can tell, I just loved them. I took a million pictures of them because I just thought they were so stinking cute together. But this is Charles and Florence when we bulldozed their house and built them a brand new home. Everybody got makeovers. I love this picture of Charles and Florence. I just think they're so cute. And then we have Miss Eleanora. She was absolutely adorable, you guys. I tried to remember to put on here everybody's dates of death and their dates of birth. Then we had Rosalind Danforth, who was born in 1899, died in 1899. Another daughter of Charles and Florence. And then Hugo and Annabelle had their first and only child in 1900, and his name was Henry. And he was super, super cute. I think he was the perfect mix of his mom and dad. He looked so much like both of them. He was just the perfect mix of the two. In 1901, Charles and Florence welcomed their son Rex. Unfortunately, Rex did pass away. And then in the same year, they actually welcomed another little boy named Paul. And he ended up living past his birth, thank goodness. But unfortunately, again in 1901, Charles and Florence lost Eleanora. So Charles is not Eleanora's dad. I believe her ex-husband Edward is actually Eleanora's dad. But and then we have little Paul when he was an infant. He was so cute. And you see what I mean about Vera? She was gorgeous. Gorgeous. This girl was so pretty. She ended up marrying this guy named George Meade, and he was not the cutest, okay? Don't get me wrong here. Looks are not everything, but he's not the cutest. But Vera loved him. They were very, very much in love, and George had a really good job. And so he took good care of Vera. This is Paul when he was a toddler, sleeping in his little bed. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is making me miss these Sims. In 1902, Charles and Florence welcomed another son named Amos. Unfortunately, he also passed away. This was actually a set of triplets. They had Amos, Andrew, who did survive the birth, and then they had, what was his name? Abraham, 1902. Again, set of triplets. We had Abraham, was the last one, and he also survived. So we lost just one out of that set of triplets in the very beginning. And then Adriel aged up into a young adult, and he aged up with this mustache, and I just kept it because I thought it was so cute. But then Adriel met his first wife, and her name was Elizabeth, just like his aunt, but Elizabeth was so beautiful, you guys. She was so pretty, and they had some of the cutest babies together. I loved Adriel and Elizabeth. This is Andrew. So Florence passed away sometime in this time period, and I don't remember exactly when, but Florence did pass away. This is Abraham. He died in 1903. He was one of the triplets. But I told you guys about Florence passing because Elizabeth moved into the house, and she really took over helping be a mom to Florence's kids. This is Henry, Hugo, and Annabelle's son when he aged up into a child. And then this is Paul when he aged up into a child. I always thought Paul was so cute, and he reminded me so much of Charles. He looks exactly like his dad in the face. So then we have little Jack Danforth, born in 1904 to Charles and Florence. Oh, he is so cute. But you'll see Elizabeth helping out with a lot of these babies. This is when Florence died. Yeah, this is when Florence died, I do believe. And then we have little Jack. Oh my gosh, he was so cute. I feel like I've said that about every Sim, but you guys, I will never be able to get over how cute some of these freaking Sims were. Like, I just will never ever be able to get over it. Jack was absolutely adorable. And then we have little Frederick, who was born in 1905. I didn't have a newborn picture of him, but he was the oldest child of Adriel and Elizabeth. So this was the first child they had together. This is Andrew, one of the triplets, when he aged up into a child. He always had this kind of bored look on his face. And then unfortunately, we did lose our founder, Charles, in 1908. It was devastating having to say goodbye. Henry aged up into a teen, and unfortunately, I believe he died in 1908 as well. I don't think he lived past that. Then we have little Edmund Mead, born in 1906. He did pass away in 1908. He was the only son of George and Vera Mead. But he was so stinking cute too. I'm so sorry that I at the placement of some of these name placards. Oh my gosh, Adriel. I will never forget him coming home in this outfit. I laughed so hard. Oh my goodness. This is Elizabeth when she was pregnant with one of the kids. I don't remember which one exactly. I'm assuming it's probably the child that was born most recently after that picture was taken, but honestly, I don't know. This is Paul when he aged up into a teenager. This is Adriel when the First World War started and he had to enlist in the army. And, you know, thankfully, we did not lose him in the war. But, you know, after he came back from the war, he needed a little relaxation time. You know, dad needs to relax too. So we let him have his time. And then Adriel and Elizabeth welcomed their daughter Mildred Fay Danforth in 1907. Mildred Fay was actually named after my great-grandmother. So Mildred has a special place in my heart. But this is Andrew, one of the triplets, all grown up, and he married a woman named Enelyn. This is Mildred when she aged up into an infant. Isn't she precious? She had her mother's eyes. She had Elizabeth's eyes. Oh my gosh, so pretty. And then they had a son, Azriel Danforth, in 1911. Oh my gosh, you guys. Asriel was supposed to be our heir, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. This is Paul, his wife Elsa, and their only daughter. Both Paul and Andrew died in World War I. This is Jack, Charles and Florence's very last child. This is the very last child that they had, and he did live a decently long time. This is Felix, Adriel and Elizabeth's son. This is the first baby they lost, I believe. And then we had Randall and Reuben Danforth in 1909. Their first and only set of multiples, I believe. And then Elizabeth died in 1911. And I believe she died at an age up. I don't believe she died at a birth. I think she died at an age up. And then Adriel met his second wife, McKenna. And you guys, when I tell you that I fell head over heels for Adriel and McKenna, she really stepped up and was a fantastic mother to children that were not hers. This is Andrew. He died right after this picture was taken, but I just loved him. He was so goofy. This is Asriel when he aged up into an infant. Oh, he had the prettiest eyes. Oh my goodness. What a little cutie patootie. Wait, how did Asriel's eyes change from green to blue? I never noticed that. I wonder if I changed them because nobody in his family had green eyes. Maybe that's what it was. I have no idea. Anyway, this is Edmund Mead. This was Vera and George's son. This is Mildred when she was a toddler. Oh my goodness, you guys. Looking back at these pictures is just like, I forgot. Oh my gosh, Mildred. Oh, I miss her, you guys. I loved Mildred. Like I said, she was named after my great-grandmother, so she's got a special place in my heart. But Adriel and Elizabeth lost their oldest son, Frederick, in 1909. He was originally supposed to be the heir, but like I said, it didn't work out that way. Adriel and McKenna then welcomed their first child in 1913, a son they named Malachi, and he was so cute, and he kind of had curly hair like his mom when he got older, and it made him look so much like his mom. This is Jack. I love Jack. I just want to pinch his cheeks. There's something about Jack that just makes me want to pinch his little cheeks. But Andrew, when he died in the war, Jack actually married his brother Andrew's widow. This is Enelin. And Jack and Enelin ended up having a daughter named Betsy, and then Jack died in World War I, unfortunately. So Enelin lost both of her husbands to the war, which was really sad. This is Randall and Reuben, Adriel and Elizabeth's last children, and they died in 1910. This is Asriel when he aged up into a child. Since Frederick passed away, Asriel was again supposed to be our heir, and some things went a little sideways. Then McKenna had Olivette Danforth in 1914. She was born on the bathroom floor in their house. This is little Malachi when he aged up into an infant. Oh my gosh, you guys, they had just the cutest little babies. This is Betsy, Jack and Enelin's daughter, when she aged up into a toddler. And she was cute, but like also creepy, kind of. I don't know. This is Olivette when she aged up into an infant. I used to love Olivette, and then when she got older, she ends up kind of doing some shady stuff, and I didn't really like her as much. This is Zion, Adriel and McKenna's son. He was born in 1915, and we are getting a little later on in the timeline when things started to go a little bit sideways. This is Miss Olivette, but things started to go a little bit sideways. After Adriel and McKenna pass away, things got a little bit crazy, but these are some of my favorite pictures of this whole legacy are these pictures of Adriel and McKenna on the front porch of their home. Adriel in his uniform, like he's coming home from war. Oh my gosh. And then Mildred ended up being our little Spitfire. She kind of broke the mold. And, back in these times, white women would not have been permitted to marry men of color. This is Zion. This is Adrielle McKenna's son. Malachi, again, Adrielle McKenna's son. But Mildred actually broke the mold, and she married a man of color. She married Pierce Delgado, which was really not something that would have been accepted back then. And then unfortunately, McKenna got pregnant and lost that pregnancy. Probably just due to her advanced maternal age at that point, because she aged up into an elder not very long after, but she was thinking about the baby and, thinking about all the children that her and Adrielle had raised together and the beautiful family that they had created. And they really were just like two teenagers in love until the very last day. These two were loving on each other all the time. They were always being so goofy, and I loved them together. This is Olivette. Olivette was always so pretty, but her being pretty really ended up being on the outside only. In 1917, Pierce and Mildred welcomed their oldest son, little Oliver Delgado, and oh my goodness, you guys, he turned out to be something. Then in 1918, Pierce and Mildred also welcomed their second child, little Miss Eden. And then here is Oliver. As he got older, his eyes sort of darkened into sort of a greenish brown color, but they were so pretty. Whereas Eden's eyes were very sort of light and like a bluish green, very, very pretty. But she has Mildred's very fair skin tone. And then something went wonky. Betsy didn't age up the way she was supposed to. She was actually supposed to age up around the same time as Jack ended up aging up, but we aged up Betsy later, and everybody fell in love with Betsy. And so we decided that Betsy was going to be our heir moving forward because our heir, Malachi, died. So we decided a little later on down the line that Betsy was going to be the heir for the legacy. This is Miss Eden as she got older, that fair skin tone and those blue eyes. I cannot. This is Oliver. He was a little bit of a stinker, you guys. He was always up to no good. He was always getting in trouble. This is Olivette when she aged up into a teenager, and this is when she really starts to show her true colors, okay? We'll get into that a little bit later, but this is Adrielle and McKenna's very last day. They went to the park and walked around. Adrielle gave her some flowers. They shared some chocolates. They went to visit Mildred and Pierce and all of their children, and just really had a good time sort of spending time with their family. And then they came home that night and they died peacefully in their sleep together, which is exactly the way that they should have gone, together. And then Betsy took over as heir for the Danforth legacy. So this is when we lost the Danforth name, right? Because at this point, we don't have a Danforth heir anymore, because Betsy got married to a man named Henry and her last name changed to Holman. And Betsy and Henry were super, super cute. I really, really loved them in the beginning. And they went through quite a few trials and tribulations. Betsy got pregnant, and unfortunately, that pregnancy ended in miscarriage. And that was heartbreaking for Betsy. But, her and Henry decided they were going to try again. And thankfully, they were able to conceive again. Betsy got pregnant. They were super, super excited. I loved this picture when she got all dressed up in her little yellow outfit, did her makeup, and got ready for him when he came home. And, they were just so excited to welcome their first child. And she actually ended up being their only child. Her name was Anna, and she was born in 1921. She was the cutest little kid, you guys. Wait until you see pictures of this kid. She was so cute. But then Betsy ended up setting the house on fire. That was, she wasn't a great cook, okay? Eden aged up into a child and she turned out super, super cute. We'll see more of Eden a little bit later on and you guys will understand why later. But this is Anna. This is Betsy and Henry's only daughter. She was stunning. This child was so beautiful. This is Kenneth. He was born in 1922, and we'll get to see a lot of Kenneth as he grows up as well, which is really exciting. But this is Pierce and Mildred's third child and their second son. Here's a picture of them when they all went to the park and had a little family picnic. This is Kenneth as he aged up into an infant. He sort of had curly hair like his dad, whereas the other two, Oliver and Eden, they had sort of straighter hair like their mom. Now, this is when things go sideways. So Olivette, she decided she had a crush on Betsy's husband. Now, Betsy is her cousin, but she decided she wanted Betsy's cousin. Or Betsy's husband. And so she started making moves. And unfortunately, they lost their daughter Anna in 1923. And this is when Olivette really kind of made her move. Her and Henry started having an affair. And unfortunately, she got pregnant. And of course, here's Kenneth when he aged up into an infant. But Olivette got pregnant with Henry's child. And so Henry and Betsy got divorced, and then Mildred moved in with Betsy because Pierce died, and she gave birth to their final children, Orson and Dwight Delgado, in 1924. Set of twins. Unfortunately, Dwight did not make it, but Orson made it a little bit longer. This is Betsy teaching little Eden how to cook. We cut Eden's hair short, and I just loved it. Olivette and Henry moved out into Mildred's old home, and they welcomed their one and only son, Zachariah Holman, in 1924. Betsy then went a little bit crazy, took matters into her own hands, and shot Henry. She killed her ex-husband, and very shortly after, she actually ended up, of course, in prison for that crime. But Olivette passed away very shortly after due to, I think, sickness when she aged up. But then Orson aged up in 1924, and unfortunately, he passed away. So Mildred lost her last two children. Then Eden aged up into a teenager, and isn't she beautiful? I just love her. I think she's absolutely stunning. This is Zechariah. So Mildred actually adopted Zechariah, and she raised him as her own son. She took him in when Olivette passed away. This is Zech when he aged up into an infant, and he loved Mildred like his mom. Mildred was the only mother he ever really knew. And so he just kind of seamlessly integrated into the family as just kind of Mildred's other kid, sort of. This is her son, Oliver. But yeah, she wasn't going to let her niece's child just go, you know, to adoption. So she ended up raising Zech as her own. And he just sort of seamlessly integrated into the family. And so with Betsy in prison and, you know, Mildred kind of becoming the heir, then heirhood sort of moved to Kenneth. He was going to be the heir for the next part of our Decades legacy. And I loved Kenneth. I thought he was super, super sweet, and he was super smart. He ended up marrying this woman named Laura. So we had Kenneth and Laura Delgado. And unfortunately, Kenneth and Laura, they went through some really hard stuff. This is Zechariah when he was a kid learning how to ride his bike. But Kenneth was really smart. He was gonna go to school to be a doctor or something like that, or a lawyer or something. He had a lot of big plans for his life. He had maxed out like a ton of skills. And this is Mildred when she went to visit Betsy in prison. This is Olivette and Henry's son, Zechariah. He unfortunately did pass away in 1931. Eden ended up moving out and getting married to a man named Marcus Sharp. And together, Eden and Marcus ended up having a daughter, I believe. Their oldest is a daughter. And her name was Miss Cora. She was born in 1930. And Cora, it took me a while to get used to Cora and kind of figure her out. But the more time I spent with her, the more I started to realize she wasn't as bad as I thought. But if you go back and watch some of the videos from when Cora was little, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. I had a hard time connecting with her, which is odd because it was so easy for me to connect with some of the others. After Cora was born, then in 1931, Eden and Marcus welcomed their second daughter, little Miss Anne. I think Anne is absolutely adorable. The older she gets, the more beautiful she gets. Eden and Marcus make some really cute kids. So then Kenneth, he decided that, it was time, and we tore down the old house and we built a brand new home for the 1930s because we entered a new decade. So I don't know if I have pictures of the 1930s house in here or not, but this is Cora when she aged up into a toddler. I don't know if I had pictures of Cora as an infant or not. I don't think I did. Otherwise, I would have put them in here, but I don't remember. Maybe I did have a picture of Cora as an infant. Anyway, this is Anne when she aged up into an infant. The Sharp kids have the brightest blue eyes, like so bright. Marcus has really bright blue eyes like this, and he passed it on to almost all of his kids. There it is. Here's our 1930s house. I'm really, really proud of this build. It's definitely not perfect, but I'm really, really proud of the way it turned out. I am not a builder, so doing something like this, especially this big, was way, way out of my comfort zone. But they moved into their big 1930s home. Of course, Mildred moved in here with them to help take care of the kids and stuff. So this is Mildred teaching Laura how to cross stitch. Aren't they the cutest? So this is when we really start to see Laura and Kenneth start to struggle. Laura and Kenneth had 3 pregnancies, and unfortunately and devastatingly, all 3 of those pregnancies ended in pregnancy loss. And Kenneth and Laura really had no answers as to why they were not able to conceive and carry a pregnancy to term. But Kenneth and Laura actually ended up passing away during an age up, I believe. They both rolled bad numbers. So Eden, Marcus, Anne, and Cora all moved into the house with Mildred, and Eden became the heir for our legacy, and that's currently where we're at. We are playing with Eden, Marcus, and the Sharp family. Here's Miss Cora as she is aged into a child, and she's actually getting ready to age up into a teenager, I think, where we're at currently, but we're kind of caught up now. So this is sort of the family that we're playing with right now is the Sharps. In 1934, Marcus and Eden welcomed little Beatrice Sharp. She is their 3rd child, and they currently have 4. So we have another child that I'll show you pictures of here in just a second. Eden and Marcus are so in love. These two are so cute. The way that they interact with each other is just the most adorable thing. This is little Beatrice. Isn't she cute? Again, those sharp eyes. It's her daddy's eyes. I'm telling you. We built a little 1930s style dance hall, and Eden and Marcus had a little night out on the town. And you guys, these pictures, I'm just obsessed. The way this man looks at his wife, every woman deserves to have a man look at her the way Marcus looks at Eden. They are so stinking cute. I just can't take it. This is little Cora playing with her little doll. This is when I started to kind of like Cora. She was kind of a snot when she was a toddler. This is Anne. She is my current favorite. At least out of the Sharp children that I've shown you so far. But then Eden and Marcus ended up welcoming their fourth child, a little boy they named Noah in 1935. And this is sort of where we're at right now. Noah has actually aged from an infant into a toddler. Beatrice is now a toddler as well, or maybe Noah has aged into an infant. I don't remember. Maybe Beatrice is a kid now too. I have no idea. Anyway, this is pretty much it. This is pretty much where we are. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little walk down memory lane. If you did, please leave a like and a comment down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.